From retro to next gen, we've got it all. I'm George, a Gen X grown-up, and this is Bit by Bit. Alright, here's a bit, oddly enough, from NintendoLife.com on Atari's 2024 recap video. This was a video that was put out right at the beginning of the year from Atari themselves, and it's a cool little YouTube video. I highly suggest you go check it out over there on their channel. It highlights mostly the games, but what's interesting in the article is how they talk a little bit more about some of the acquisitions that Atari has been doing over the last year or so. We've talked about Night Dive Studios being a part of them. Of course, Digital Eclipse is now a part of the Atari brand. Atari Age has been brought into the Atari company. So it looks like that Atari really turned things around for the better in 2024, and I can't wait to see how well they do in 2025. Go check this article out or the video. All right, here's an interesting bit from MSN.com, written by Aziz Gunner. I don't know that person, but they propose an interesting way for Sega to maintain their historical game library by putting it into another video game. So it's no secret that Sega has had issues of late. We talked about it in the last Bit by Bit where they don't even know which games they have licensed. We see that they're pulling some of their stuff from other streaming services like the Microsoft Store and Steam and whatnot where you can play games. But this article casts an interesting spin. They talk about putting it into a series of games called Like a Dragon. Now, I don't know this series at all, but I guess in the franchise, in some of the games, the characters get an opportunity to play other older Sega games. And this article goes into a whole bunch of them and how they could do it to preserve more Sega games. I guess they kind of first need to know which games are theirs, but this is an interesting little idea, an interesting thought process, and an interesting read. So head over to msn.com and check it out. All right, here's another pinball bit from my friends at naparcade.org. If you love Dungeons & Dragons, or if you love pinball, and especially if you're like me who loves Dungeons & Dragons and pinball, you're going to be extremely happy. Stern has officially revealed the Dungeons & Dragons, the Tyrant's Eye pinball machine. This article goes into a lot more depth about the different details on the game, so it's a really great read. These guys over at Naps Arcade do a great job on these kind of articles. They give you the price. Of course, we're going to be in the $7,000, $10,000, and $13,000 range because this is Stern Pinball, and their machines are not cheap when they come out. But I want you to go down to the bottom of the article and watch the trailer on this game and tell me that you wouldn't love to acquire one of these yourself, or at least find one at your local pinball arcade or pool hall or wherever it is that you might find pinballs in your town. This thing, they have really taken it up a notch. They have celebrity voice talent doing a lot of the audio work on it, including Michael Dorn voicing the dragon. That's a big part of the game. They've got all these cool little ramps. They have a gelatinous cube for the ball lock, which I think is brilliant. I mean, what else would you use in Dungeons & Dragons than a gelatinous cube to grab your ball? It's brilliant. Anyway, take your time to read the article and then run down here and watch the official game trailer. I don't think you'll be disappointed. All right, here's another emulation bit from howtogeek.com. They want to teach you how to set up a Dolphin emulator so you can play your Wii and GameCube games on Windows. Now, we here at GenXGrownUp love emulation. We have a ton of videos teaching you how to do stuff. I don't think we've done one yet on the Dolphin emulator, though, so check this article out if you're interested in getting to those games. I love that they tell you, where to get the emulator. That's key, of course. Setting up a game directory. They give some nice screenshots to help you to understand. I love people when they do screenshots with arrows to help you find stuff that they're talking about in the text. That's always key to me. Nice big blow-up ones. They give you some different, here you can switch back and forth between the two. I love that. That's smart. They go into some larger ones. But then they've got a section about ripping your own games, which I think is incredibly important because it takes away the part of the equation of whether you're doing something legal or illegal. If you own the game and you have the disc, they're going to teach you how to rip them so that you're doing emulation legally. And I think that's very important, and I'm give props to How to Geek on doing that. They show you the whole process step by step. I had no idea it would involve a Wii in order to do that, but this is really cool. They go through some configuration stuff. It's a really well put together, in-depth article, a tutorial on how to set up Dolphin Emulator so that you can play your favorite games for the Wii and a couple of other things. So anyway, go check it out. It's well worth the read, howtogeek.com. All right, here's a bit from insidergaming.com that's titled Russian Gaming Consoles Can't Compete with Xbox and PlayStation. Okay, first of all, I had no idea there were Russian-specific gaming consoles, but I guess it shouldn't come as a surprise. What is a surprise, though, in reading this article, it's talking about how Putin himself has ordered his Russian tech manufacturers to work on homegrown gaming consoles. And then some guy who's like in charge of a place that does that kind of work in Russia has talked about, I hope my colleagues will approach this task with full responsibility, blah, 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 blah. It's just really wild to think that with all the stuff going on with Russia right now and Putin and everything else, and he's telling people to make gaming consoles? It's just nuts. This article goes in to talk a little bit more about how much the consoles cost and what they're trying to do with them. It's an interesting read. I think maybe if you're interested in consoles in the modern era, it's probably worth 5 minutes to check it out. All right, here's a bit from howtogeek.com talking about CRT screens dying, as we all know they are, and how some coders are working on ways to simulate that CRT experience in our flat panel world. This is a great little article that gives you an idea of what's on the horizon. None of this stuff is really ready for retail, I would say, yet, but a lot of coders are working on these shaders to give you a real authentic CRT feel, which is going to become harder and harder to come by as these CRT monitors and televisions start just dying off, because nobody is manufacturing them anymore, really, except for a couple of niche guys here and there doing ones for specific applications, like maybe in old arcade cabinets or something like that, which, you know, could be useful to you, but a lot of people just don't have the time or the money to put into going and tracking down one of these CRTs. So I think if they can get these shaders up to that same level of believability as a real CRT, I think it's going to bode well for the retro gaming enthusiasts and emulation in the future. Anyway, howtogeek.com. Go check this article out, all about CRT screens and their simulating shaders. All right, here is the biggest bit to hit newsstands this week. It's all about the Atari Gamestation Go. There's no way that I'm going to bring you to any other website other than GenXGrownUp.com for this news. Of course, John has already done a first look video at the updated hardware for CES 2025. Speaking of which, pay particular attention in the next week or so to our YouTube channel. John will be at CES 2025, specifically at the My Arcade booth for 2 days, going over all the new products that they're announcing this year. And believe me, I've seen some stuff out there. There is a ton coming from My Arcade. Atari and My Arcade have, of course, partnered on this new product. This was one that they talked a little bit about last year, but we didn't quite like a few of the things on it, so we talked with the people at My Arcade. They have done some amazing work to incorporate some of the suggestions that we and some of you, our viewers and listeners, wanted to add about what we saw from CES 2024. I think this unit is going to be awesome. There are other things coming out, like I said, that I can't get into because, you know, we're sworn to secrecy here at GenXGrownUp. But trust me, My Arcade and Atari are doing it up right. Go check out this video if you want to learn a little bit more before CES 2025. But as soon as CES 2025 is going on, come back to our channel and check out all the videos that John's going to be producing. You won't be disappointed. All right, here's a bit from boundingintocomics.com. It's an article labeled 10 Best Consoles of All Time, ranked. And I'm going to get into that because I have a bit of a problem with this article. First of all, okay, ranking 10 best consoles, I agree with them. It's a very difficult proposition to do because, what do you judge by? How many units were sold? How many games were made for the systems? Which had the best, ratings by users? Or maybe magazine article rating systems? Whatever. There's just too much to come up with a 10 best. Now, I know there are some that should absolutely always be in a top 10 list of consoles. But what I have a problem with here, there's no goddamn rankings. They say ranked right up here. But then there's no number 10 or number 1. Am I starting at number 10? Is this number 5? I don't know, but it's Pong. Okay, Pong's in there. Nintendo Virtual Boy, I understand its significance in history and what it foreshadowed to come, but it is not one of the 10 best consoles in history. As a matter of fact, if you're going to have Pong on there and Nintendo Virtual Boy, why don't you have the 2600, by the way, which is not on this list? I like the Genesis, great system. NES, no question needs to be on there. SNES, no question needs to be on there. PlayStation 2, I don't know enough about it. I didn't have any PlayStations up until the PlayStation 4 that one of you guys gifted to me recently. Nintendo Switch, yeah, that's a great system, but boy, there seems to be an awful lot of people that are mad at it all the time. Is it in the top 10? Xbox 360, I personally loved this console. We had 4 of them here in the house at one point, maybe 5. I thought it was a great platform, and I played it all the time. Nintendo Wii, very innovative, super cool. I guess it's one of the top 10. Original PlayStation, yeah, maybe. I don't know. What order are they in? And the list itself is a little bit suspect. Go check it out. It's got some good information, but again, don't call your article ranked if you're not really going to tell us what they're ranked as. All right, here's a crazy bit from rockpapershotgun.com. Apparently, somebody has created Doom as a CAPTCHA or whatever. I don't know how to say that damn word, but you have to kill 3 monsters to prove that you're human. That's freaking awesome. I love that. Doom is an awesome first-person shooter game from way back in the day. This article goes on to talk a little bit about it being a fun concept, but he would have rather experienced it out in the wild, like just some random website that you come up to and it's there. But then he goes into a list of other places where Doom has been ported over to. Doom on a thing, as he calls it. Balatro's in there, Fortnite, an electric toothbrush. I mean, it's just nuts. People love Doom, and they love seeing where it can be played. If you're interested in improving your human, go check this article out. That's going to do it for the news making headlines in the gaming world right now. I am George, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button, and I'll keep on bringing you the news bit by bit.